Hey folks, I am Joey Fameli, one of the producers here at Tested.com with my favorite things of 2018. First off, let's talk about video gear. Now, it's actually been kind of a slower year for me in terms of purchases and buying new gear. I've been using a lot of the existing gear we've had and been very busy shooting a lot. Earlier this year, you probably saw us go to New Zealand with Weta, Peter Jackson and his crew and shoot the Farewell to Arms short. We did the bell curve with Zoe Bell at a racetrack doing a lot of drifting. Even outside of Tested, I've been directing short films and working as a cinematographer for others' films. So instead of new gear purchases, I just kind of want to talk about what my favorite things are to bring on set. First off, the Quasar QLED light tube. Now, as some of you may know, I have been a big fan of LED lamps, and this little versatile light by Quasar Science is actually pretty rad. Simply just plug it in and it turns on. Now, it doesn't have a dimmer built in, but I actually use external dimmers for this thing. You can see it's actually bright and puts off some nice quality light. You can change the temperature of from tungsten all the way to daylight. It's very versatile. I've been using this thing a ton as either an accent light, or I've been bouncing it off of surfaces to make different kinds of sources. Or my favorite use for it is probably using it as a motivational light for practicals. Now, if you look behind me, you can see like some string lights hung up back there. So oftentimes I will hang something like this behind the talent to give you the illusion that those string lights are giving you some kind of light that way. So it's actually a great thing to have. It's pretty small, very lightweight, draws very little power. So I just kind of throw this in my bag with me whenever I go into shoot, and we will use it when needed. That again is the QLED-X Crossfade lamp by Quasar Science. Now this next object is a little bit silly, but I have been bringing these things everywhere. I've been using them a ton, and that is bongo ties. I always have a couple kind of hanging around my bags. These are essentially just thick, durable rubber bands with these little wooden bits and bobs hanging out the end. All you use this thing for is to wrap around and tie things together. Now, I know that sounds kind of simple, but having these on set has solved a ton of problems that I did not know I would have. Whether that be battery plates kind of coming loose that need to be held together, or just like a very quick, simple cable management solution. These things are constantly being used on the sets that I work on, and I always have a few in my laptop bag, my camera bags, my suitcases. Pretty much I use these things for everyday life, but more importantly, to handle on set things where I just need to tie something together. Next, let's move over to post-production, where I've been using the Logic keyboards. Now, a little while back, I had a project pop up in Avid. I'm an Adobe Premiere editor. It's been a long time since I touched Avid, so I bought one of these keyboards to help remind me of all the hotkeys on Avid. Now, I'm a very big keyboard editor, and I love having these physicalized mappings of the keys on my keyboards. This keyboard helped me jump into this project relatively quickly and refresh myself on all of the Avid hotkeys so I can get going on this project, where otherwise I would be opening up the Avid keyboard window and having to refer back and forth to documentations to get the editing going. This thing helped out a ton. Most recently, I've been using the Logic Astra Backlit Premiere keyboard. Going back to Premiere, this is a different type of keyboard. The Avid keyboard I have is very much a Mac keyboard. This Astra keyboard is a Mac keyboard, but it's built a little bit differently, a little more customized for what Logic was trying to do. And I even had the Tested logo printed onto the spacebar. Again, I am a huge fan of hotkey editing, and keyboards like this help keep me refreshed and also help me find new ways of improving my workflow. Again, that's the Logic Astra Backlit Premiere keyboard. So let's move on to some games. My friends and I are huge Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition fans, and we love to play, but we are kind of scattered all over the state and all over the country. So it's a little bit hard to get together and play some tabletop RPGs. However, with Roll20, we have been able to keep a weekly session going. Roll20 is a browser-based application that allows you to run tabletop campaigns, whether that be Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder or whatever else. It allows you to import maps, make your own characters, your own sheets. You can build out entire campaigns yourself, or you can purchase and download modules that bring all that stuff into the system for you. There are a ton of tools built into this that help make your style of tabletop RPGs possible. However you play, you can pretty much customize this application to those needs. It even has things like built-in dice rolling functions. So when you're doing a sneak attack at 5d6, you can do that with one click of a button. That again is Roll20, the browser-based tabletop role-playing game application. So let's move on to some board games. I've been playing a few this year, but there's one that has kind of stood out for me, and it is Arkham Horror. Now, I'm a little late to this party, but Arkham Horror is essentially what they call a living board game that the outcomes of your previous adventures kind of shift things moving forward for you and your characters. My wife and me plans this as a two-player game. It's very hard for us to find good two-player games, and this has been one that has been incredibly engaging. This is like a Lovecraftian lore where you pick these characters with some traits, and you're moving through these rooms, investigating for clues as these nightmarish creatures are spawning in, as you're fighting them off, as you try to escape these locations. It's a very intense game, like I said, very engaging, very thrilling, a little bit of a learning curve. The instructions that are included can be a little bit vague at times, so I recommend you going a first playthrough with a computer so you can jump into forums to kind of get clarity on rules. It's a little bit complicated, but once you get through that first game, you stick with it, it's really fun. And once you get those rules down, you'll have a great time of just fighting off these demons and exploring this crazy Lovecraftian world. That again is Arkham Horror. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention my most favoriteest thing of 2018, and that has been becoming a father. Back in July, my wife became a mother and gave birth to our first child, Sienna. We are a few months in now, but this has been a blast. Watching her develop, watching her grow, laugh, smile. We took her to the post office so she can get her tiny little passport so that we can go off to Japan. Just the thought of exploring this world with her as she grows just excites me to no end. And that is it. Thank you guys for indulging me in that. Thank you guys for being a part of this Tested community to allow us to do these things that we love and hopefully bring you content that you love. 2018 in the books. We will see you guys in 2019 with a whole new fresh year of great stuff. Until then, good night.